they just think we're stupid. We see the highest majority of these cases in the country. The same excuse writes the same thing every time. And basically like, no support for your medical condition, or you're better, go back to work, or the objective evidence doesn't match your subjective complaints. I mean, a complete fraud. I want to give people the hope that, yes, you can win this case, and we win a lot of these. And if you do file a lawsuit with more than 90% certainty, you're going to get some kind of money. Greg Dell here with attorney Stephen Jessup. And Steve, I want to talk to you about Unum Disability Insurance Company. And we're here in the studio today because both of us over the last couple months have become so frustrated with Unum's denial of disability claims. And not just from people calling us saying, I got denied on my initial application, or the people that have always called us who have been on for years or months and got denied by Unum, but what's going on at the appeal level, meaning after you submit an appeal and what Unum's relying upon to deny a claim. Because usually, and we have other videos and tons of articles where we've talked about what are the common reasons for denial. But what's so frustrating right now, what we're going to talk about in this video, is what is going on that we're submitting appeals, and especially when we're doing appeals, forget about all the other appeals we're seeing from people who do their own appeals or use a lawyer who doesn't know what they're doing to submit an appeal, and it comes back and Unum still denies. And we're flabbergasted. It's not a word I use every day, but I mean, literally, we're shocked. We're looking at it, we're going, are they serious? So first thing to you is, what technique are they using on appeal consistently that you're seeing to deny the appeal denials?
You know, one thing I keep noticing, and we discussed before we started filming, because I spoke with a potential client today who had their appeal denied, and it was an argument that they've had, and they make it a lot of, you know, we've denied your case. In the appeal, please send additional information. Sometimes they list what they want to see. You know, in this client's situation, she submitted an appeal, additional functional testing like they had requested. And then on the appeal review and the final denial, like, well, that testing was done 4 months after the denial date, so it's not contemporaneous to the time of the denial. Or you saw this new doctor who is very supportive, but you weren't seeing him at the time we denied the claim, so it's not relevant to the time at which we denied you. So it's just requesting additional information on appeal and then disregarding it as not being relevant to the time at which they denied you. And like you had said, well, if you didn't send anything, then they'd argue you didn't send any information to, you know, further support and verify the disability. So it's almost like no matter what you do, they find some way to ignore or disregard any of the information that you're sending on appeal.
So if they're using this contemporaneous argument, meaning their argument is you sent us this information after the date we denied you, so therefore it's not relevant, it's not related, but what's the point of asking for an appeal and saying, here's your opportunity to provide more information, and under the law, you have 6 months to get us this information? Are they basically saying that all of these things happened to you after we denied you? That you didn't have these illnesses or conditions? I mean, I understand if someone, you know, after they get denied, gets hit by a bus or falls or they have an accident or they get, that's totally different. But this evidence that we're always talking about is for the same condition that the person was complaining about before they got denied. So how could Unum even reasonably say this is not relevant time frame wise to what's going on with your claim?
You know, I think that's where I try to tell people, you know, because logically it doesn't make sense, right? And I don't think you can employ regular logic in this situation the way that they're reviewing these things, you know, especially in a situation where, like you said, you're providing new information that is supportive and builds upon all the complaints found in the medical records well prior to the denial, right? During the time of disability, the application stage. So this idea that because it wasn't in or wasn't right at the date of the denial, it's somehow not relevant to how the person is doing, there's no logical explanation as to why they do it other than they're just being completely contentious and looking for ways to just deny.
So people are watching this video going, right now are sitting there going, that's me. That happened to me. I relate to that. So what do I do? And if we had done the appeal, or if we are the firm that's going to do your appeal, what has to happen is you have to get an incredible amount of evidence in that supports your condition within that 6-month period after you've been denied. What Unum does with it is not up to us, but we know from our experience of handling thousands and thousands of these lawsuits is, how's the court going to look at it? how's a reasonable judge going to look at this? And you just recently finished a case against Unum where the court absolutely slammed Unum, like basically to the point of being like, are you kidding me? It is so ridiculous what you did in this case. And it got reversed and the client got their benefits paid to them. But it's sad. It's so sad because that time frame, if someone gets denied, if you go through a full lawsuit, you're looking a minimum 18 months if you're lucky. And if you file a lawsuit, some of these cases we can get resolved within 6 months or 9 months and potentially some kind of lump sum settlement without going to a court. But is that Unum's model right now? We're just going to unreasonably deny everything and try to get people to settle or take us to court because they want to save time in not having to pay because they're a publicly traded company and it makes their numbers look better?
It's interesting. It's like a deny and settle type thing. And I also try to explain to people when you're dealing with the claims department and the appeals department, the reviews, that's different than dealing with, say, Unum, legal or their outside attorneys because they're assessing things a little bit differently. But I would have to say, yes, when there's Unum denials, Unum more so than any other company, and it didn't used to be this way, I feel puts on blinders. They've created a narrative in their own mind. And no matter what you do, everything you send is somehow going to just be within the scope of what their opinion formulated was, and they're going to continue to fight, and they'll get you in this back and forth on the appeal, especially, our doctors, here's a report from our doctor, and someone I spoke to recently was just an internal medicine doctor. She has like 10 specialists, never had a specialist review the file. This internal medicine doctor just was refuting everything. A follow-up letters from her doctors, nothing. The internal medicine doctor, they just relied on that opinion. Right. And I think you're right in the sense that it's a matter of getting as much as you can in, because when you are dealing with the litigation process, you're going to put your best foot forward. The case that you referenced that we won, we didn't do the appeal on that one. And that was even a situation where, the original denial goes back to 2020. So we're talking, it was about 3.5 years before court made a decision on it. And it's, people, they don't have money coming in. Right. So it's very frustrating. You could do the best possible appeal, and it just seems like no matter what you can do, it's never good enough. Or when I was speaking, at potential clients, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. They say, well, there's not this. So you give them that. So they find some other thing that's a problem with it. And it's just like the strategic, it's not going to change their opinion. They've got this process. And like we've discussed in other videos where they have these roundtable reviews. And I think it's groupthink. Whether their doctor or someone comes up with the narrative of what they think, and then the entire, staff, claims and vocational create a narrative to fit, the outcome they want, instead of independent reviews coming together and then having a dialogue about why I think that might be wrong or this might be wrong. So Unum right now, it's very, very difficult. They certainly are the insurance company that I would say personally, on appeals, I'm seeing the highest percentage of denials of appeals than the other major insurance companies.
Right. And I think it's just going to be, it's a little cyclical in this injury. I think they get a little cocky because they do this and they either get people to go away, unfortunately, or people out of desperation go back to work and just absolutely killing themselves, taking years off their lives, suffering tremendously because they got to put food on the table. And Unum's trying to force them into doing that. Or they do try to file a lawsuit and fortunately clients, take the opportunity to try to wait it out. One thing I know at our firm, with the 15 lawyers that we have doing this is we're fighting them every day. And all over the country, we're going to battle them and we're going to make good case law. But, years ago, they reported $1 billion in profit. The problem is you bang them here and there, and we're the leading law firm in the country doing this, but they're getting away with it with so many other things. Like these product liabilities with companies. They know it's going to hurt somebody, but the amount we'll pay out of the injuries versus doing a recall, we just won't make the recall. So they fear we'll just deny. But the manner in which they're doing it, these denials, especially on appeal, I don't know if they just think we're stupid. We see the highest majority of these cases in the country. They keep going to the same employed doctors that they have. And the same doctor who's an evil human being. I mean, basically, the same excuse writes the same thing every time. And basically no support for your medical condition, or you're better, go back to work, or The objective evidence doesn't match your subjective complaints. I mean, a complete fraud. But fortunately, the courts see this and the courts know. So I want to give people the hope that, yes, you can win this case, and we win a lot of these. And if you do file a lawsuit with more than 90% certainty, you're going to get some kind of money definitely offered to you. Now, does that mean 90% you're going to win this case? No. But are you going to get money offered to you? Yes. It just depends how hard you want to fight, how long you want to wait. And of course, it depends if you had a good appeal. Now, if we did the appeal, we know it's a good appeal. If we didn't do the appeal, we're going to do the best with what we can. Like the case you just did, you won. We didn't do the appeal, but you were able to turn it. So I want people to know we're frustrated. We know you're frustrated, but we're passionate about fighting to do every single thing we can to win these cases for Unum. So if you're someone out there with a Unum long-term disability claim, feel free to call Steven, myself. No matter where you live in the country, we'll provide you with an immediate free phone consultation, and we look forward to the opportunity to speak with you.